coming to Real Madrid on a free transfer, but Antonio Rudiger's love for the white jersey of the royal team is much greater than that number. Rudiger may not be young anymore, but if he's missing from the lineup, a true warrior will be missing. In Real Madrid's new Galacticos 3.0 generation, President Florentino Perez is rejuvenating the team by bringing in young players to Santiago Bernabeu to turn them into pillars in the new galaxy. But youth isn't always good, especially for defensive players. Perez recognizes this and decides to bring Rudiger back to the team. In his last season at Chelsea, many clubs wanted his services. Even Chelsea wanted to part ways with Rudiger. But his wage demands made the Blues leadership hesitant, and so Rudiger left on a free transfer. He joined Real Madrid and became an irreplaceable pillar of the royal team. Injuries to Eder Militao early in the season and David Alaba last December increased the defensive burden on the 31-year-old player, and this was when the former Champions League winner stepped up. He played consistently throughout most of the season and contributed significantly to Real Madrid's achievements, especially in the Champions League quarter-final, Real's opponent, the reigning champions Man City, with intentions of securing their second consecutive treble. One of the dangerous names on the citizen side is Erling Haaland. Rudiger understood that leaving space for the Norwegian striker would endanger his team's goal. So during the 90 minutes at Santiago Bernabeu and 120 minutes at the Etihad, Rudiger tightly marked Haaland, rendering the 23-year-old forward invisible throughout both matches. It's evident from the post-match statistics that Haaland had only 2 shots on target in both legs, a number unacceptable for a future Ballon d'Or contender. This is not to mention that Rudiger consistently forced Haaland to play with his back to Real's goal, making it even more difficult for the former Dortmund player. Not only did Rudiger mark Haaland well, but he and his teammates also excellently neutralized the home team's dangerous attacks, leading the match to a penalty shootout full of uncertainties. Here, Rudiger showed his prowess as a central defender. Although not a forward, his penalty kick was extremely dangerous. Ederson guessed the right direction but couldn't reach the ball. It was Rudiger's last penalty kick that brought Real Madrid into the 12th Champions League semi-final in the last 14 years. And even the cameras caught him whispering instructions to Andriy Lunin about Kovacic's kick. Both had been close teammates at Chelsea, so Rudiger understood Kovacic's shooting style very well. As Rudiger had instructed earlier, Kovacic couldn't beat Lunin. Why do we call Rudiger a warrior? Is it an accurate description of his true character? Yes, indeed. Rudiger is a true warrior. He enters the battlefield and fights wholeheartedly for the club's colors. Remember in the match between Shakhtar Donetsk and Real Madrid in the Champions League 2022-2023 season, Los Blancos were trailing for most of the match, and everyone thought the Ukrainian team had won when Rudiger shone with a goal in the 90+5 minute to secure a valuable point for Real. It's worth mentioning that after the equalizer, Rudiger's face was covered in blood, having been concussed earlier in the match while jumping up for a header, colliding heavily with the opponent's goalkeeper. Medical staff rushed onto the field to provide initial treatment for Rudiger. At that point, Real Madrid had used all their substitutions, so Rudiger had to continue playing for the remaining minutes. But even so, many believed Rudiger wouldn't leave the field just because of those injuries. He would soldier on for the remaining minutes. After the match, more thorough medical work was done. Doctors had to stitch Rudiger's wound with 20 stitches, causing the German defender to miss the El Clasico match a few days later. Indeed, he was absent, but coach Carlo Ancelotti had told the press before the match that Rudiger wanted to play despite suffering a head injury. Rudiger is truly a warrior. If you come into contact and look into his eyes, you'll see he's excited and looking forward to Sunday's match against Barcelona. Rudiger is training with a face mask, but he's okay. He wears it to prevent the wound from reopening. Although claiming there was no problem, Ancelotti did not risk using a player with such issues at that time. He knew how important Rudiger was to the team, but risking him then could have cost Real Madrid an entire season. On the day he joined Real Madrid, Rudiger didn't hesitate to declare that Real Madrid is the biggest chapter in his career. I'm very happy and excited to receive a phone call to join Real Madrid from the club's leadership. I know a great club like Real wouldn't contact someone like me too many times. If you're truly a superstar, they will make time. But I think as an ordinary player, I didn't miss this opportunity and agreed to move here immediately. I had wished that one day I would play for Real, and now it has become a reality. I will strive to dedicate everything I have to not disappoint those who tried to bring me to the club. Saying and doing, Rudiger has become a cornerstone throughout his 2 seasons at Bernabeu. The German defender appears assured in defense, often throwing himself before the goal solely to prevent his team from conceding. When needed, he also participates in attacks very effectively. Rudiger once admitted that he's the type of defender who loves to play at the opponent's 1650 meters because that's where he can shine and score goals in situations where the club faces difficulties. Rudiger is an emotionally rich player. He often has excessive reactions whenever the club wins or achieves something after a difficult period. It's not by chance that many call Rudiger the madman, but the 31-year-old defender is not bothered by that. In fact, he's quite cheerful with such a nickname. Real Madrid players and coaches call me Rudy. They recognize that I'm a real madman, but that's right, because I'm a person with a strong character and rich emotions. I'm not sad to be called that. You see, what I do is for the love of Real Madrid, and I'm proud of what I've contributed to this club. The moment Rudiger stepped up to take the final penalty, his face was as cold as ice, without any emotion. The loud whistles thundered across the Etihad stands to intimidate Rudiger, but they had no effect on him. Rudiger was too familiar with playing in such chaos. The decisive moment arrived. He successfully executed the penalty, ran towards his teammates, slid on the Etihad turf, and joined in the joy with Real Madrid. Even then, Rudiger ran to the Real Madrid fans' stands to celebrate the victory with the supporters who traveled far and wide from Spain to the foggy island to accompany the team. One enthusiastic fan couldn't contain his excitement and rushed down to hug Rudiger, but unfortunately, he stumbled headfirst. It's unknown whether that fan was injured or not, but what's known is that he also celebrated wildly just like the guy standing in front of him. Perhaps Rudiger's mindset is starting to influence the fans now. Now it's important to celebrate the victory. Those pains have been taken care of by the doctors. It doesn't matter much to a team victory right on the field where Real suffered a 0-4 defeat last season. A free and successful contract is an accurate description of Real Madrid's extremely wise deal. They brought in a true warrior in both literal and figurative senses, someone willing to sacrifice everything for the sole purpose of winning for the team. Rudiger is now 31 years old, not young, but saying he's past his prime isn't correct because he's still proving his worth. And even if it's late, it's quite fortunate that Rudiger and Real Madrid have finally found each other.